Thank you. It was very interesting to hear David talk there about BIM. 2 points that really struck me from what he said was the importance of time. And in terms of a competitive advantage, time is so critical in the London market. And the other point he made was the challenge within BIM of getting all consultants to work together, which is something we're dealing with in our BIM experience at the moment in London. Let me begin by saying that we are a firm of architects, well established in Ireland. We're now in our 30th year, 31st year. We have 4 offices in Ireland, in Dublin, Cork, Kilkenny and Sligo, and we have 2 offices in the UK. We've long had a Belfast office, and most recently now we've opened an office in London. And I've been asked to speak here today about the experience of moving into London and the impact of the government's mandate on the UK government's mandate on BIM on our entry into that market. We work across, I'll just briefly give you an outline of the firm, very briefly. We work across many sectors and services, both in the public and private sector. Like many architects in Ireland, we've done everything, if you like, every type of building, every sector. However, in the UK, we're focusing primarily on the sectors I'm showing here. The core of Reddy architecture has always been residential and residential-related projects, such as regeneration projects and mixed-use projects based around residential. And that's probably the key sector we're focusing on in the UK at the moment. We also have a long-established reputation for office design and office fit-out, and that's another strong market for us in the UK. We have done over the years a lot of public sector projects, particularly in healthcare and education. We have a well-established healthcare division, and we've done hospitals at every level. We're also currently doing educational projects at every level, for primary, secondary, tertiary. And that's these are the other 2 markets that that we're actively pursuing in the UK. The government mandate in the UK clearly applies to both to public projects, particularly healthcare and education. But what we're finding already is that BIM is becoming a requirement in our private sector projects, irrespective or perhaps driven by the government mandate. We work with a large range of clients, many of whose names you will recognise. In London at the moment, one of our key clients is Ballymore. You can see their logo there, and I'll show you some of the work we're doing with them. And Ballymore are very keen to be a fully BIM-enabled developer. This is, in terms of our numbers, this is a slightly old photograph. I'll apologise to any of you in the room who see yourself in this photograph and realise you did work in Reddy architecture at some point. And I see one of them right in front of me. We went through a trajectory most consultants will recognise. We were over 200 people at one point. That fell very rapidly to 40 people. We're now back up to 60 people and growing. All of our offices in Ireland have come through the downturn, and now we're expanding into the UK. Our London office is based in Aldgate, within the shadow of the towers of the City of London and just behind the Tower of London and St Catherine's Dock. Our primary market in the UK would be London and the South East. Obviously, we'll take a job wherever we can get it, but it's a big place and we need to focus our energies on a particular market. So for now, that's London and the South East, which is currently a very good market to be in. Obviously, in going into London, we went in about 3 years ago, and we didn't really debate this at all. We decided we had to be BIM-enabled from day one, if you like, and that all our projects in the UK should be in BIM. Obviously, the UK government's mandate is driving the uptake of BIM in the UK, and while that applies primarily to the private sector, as I said, we're finding that to the public sector, as I said, we're finding that the private sector is reacting as well and moving very rapidly to be fully BIM enabled. And so again, it wasn't something we had to debate about. All of our work in the UK has to be in BIM if we're going to grow a business there. Okay, I just want to show you 2 of the projects that we're doing in London at the moment in BIM. Most of our work in London at this moment is in the residential market. The residential sector is very strong. In fact, there's something of a housing boom in London. And that's where most of our workload is currently concentrated. These are 2 housing projects. They're both in the private sector. They're both high-density apartment schemes, and they're both in central London. The one on the left is for Ballymore, at the project they call Embassy Gardens, if you're familiar with it. And the one on the right is for a private developer. Each is in different stages of development. The one on in terms of the service we're providing, the one on the left is one where we're taking it from RIBA stage E, or if you like, from design development through technical design through to production design and onto site, based on a scheme for which planning permission was obtained by another firm of architects. Something like 80% of all development in the UK is design build, at least in the housing sector. So many of our clients, many of the projects we're doing, this is the situation we're in. Our client is either a developer or a contractor, or indeed both. The one on the right, on the other hand, is one that we've taken from inception through planning and heading now towards site. In relation to Embassy Gardens, this is London's biggest development opportunity zone along with King's Cross. You may know it because it starts at Battersea Power Station and sweeps around the river towards the Houses of Parliament. Treasury did have one half of the site. They've now sold it on to a Malaysian developer who's just appointed Frank Geary to transform the power station. Ballymore have the other half of the site. And they're currently on site with phase 1 of the development, comprising almost 700 apartments. And they're just about to start phase 2. And of those 700 apartments, we're currently developing 330 of them. It's a very, very interesting scheme, a master plan by Terry Farrell, some really nice ideas about landscape and about bringing the landscape through the buildings, as you can see on the left, and right up to the river's edge. We inherited the scheme after it had obtained planning permission by AHMM Architects, and our job is to take it on from there. So we inherited a set of conventional 2D CAD drawings, but we have, from the outset, developed the scheme in BIM. And this was at the request of the client, and it wasn't a demand, it wasn't a condition of appointment, but once appointed, the client asked all of the consultants to work in BIM. For us, that wasn't a problem. Others had to make a decision, but we're now all working in BIM. And this is a private sector client. They're not immediately impacted by the government mandate. I mean, they don't have to go to BIM, but they want to. And we're finding that all of our private sector clients are thinking like this. They all want to be fully BIM enabled. I presume it's because they understand the benefits of BIM. I think in Ballymore's case, they particularly want to they want to improve quality on site. That's really important for them. But also then private developers appreciate the time savings that BIM should be able to deliver. We're very much, I would say, at level 1 BIM. In other words, we have actually we're more than that. If level 1 is where a consultant has their own model and they use it for internal purposes, if level 2 is where consultants are sharing a single model, we're somewhere in between. Each of the consultants on the team has their own model. We, as the lead consultant, do all of the coordination, produce the clash reports, the interference reports, and then each consultant goes away and updates their own model. There isn't a single model that we can all change. I think the industry generally has some way to go, at least in architectural, private sector, residential development, before we get to the point where there's a single model, and even further before we get to the point where there's a client-owned single model, where the client actively uses the model too. But that's where everybody wants to go. So it's been a very useful tool for us. We're already seeing significant benefits in coordination with the other consultants. We're picking up problems that would otherwise have been picked up much later in the process. Our client appreciates this because the client is developing a whole set of packages. We're able to use BIM to work that way, so that the client is tendering, first of all, the envelope, and then developing the roof packages, and then developing the interiors, and we are able to do all of that, to follow the client and to work that the way that they work. And to touch on David's point, all the consultants are now working in a fairly fluid and uniform way, and it's certainly producing significant benefits in terms of time delivery. I'll touch upon another project now that we're currently doing as well. This is one that we've taken from inception. And this is called Beagle House. This is 330 apartments over 24 floors in central London. We started this project in BIM and have taken it forward to planning permission. It's currently in for planning. And we expect it will go rapidly to site when and if we get planning. And we will have a model that we can very quickly progress into production drawings. We're able also to model all of the interiors, all of the apartments, and the really important thing, I think, for our client in this one is that The project changes constantly as the market changes, so we're constantly going back and looking at the apartment mix. And it's quite a complex project over 24 floors, but with BIM, we're able to pick up those changes and constantly update the model as the client wants and test different options. And then when the client is happy, we can quickly go into the working drawings. It's also been very useful in that the CGI consultants are using our BIM model to generate all their CGI views. We're in a critical view corridor in London, which is key to our planning permission. We mustn't pop up above the Tower of London as seen from City Hall, but our BIM model is helping us achieve that. Daylighting is critically important for a high-density apartment scheme like this in central London. We're able to give our model to the daylighting consultants, and they're generating all the daylighting calculations from that. There's something gone wrong with that last image, I think. I just wanted to make the point there that we don't just use it on big projects. And something has gone wrong with the slide, but this is a small project. It's a marketing suite, which we were doing for Ballymore. It's a single-story building, a little Miesian-style glass pavilion, and we did this entirely on Revit from day one. A really hectic site program where we were given 6 months from appointment to turning to the launch ceremony. But we were able to produce the visualizations very quickly, get it in for planning quickly, get the steel frame designed and out to construction even before we had finished detailing the envelope. So we're using it on every project, irrespective of size. This is actually a project in Ireland rather than in London, but again, a good demonstration of BIM. This is our adolescent mental health unit at Cherry Orchard Hospital. As you can see, the building is comprised of a whole set of interlocking curves. The contractor told us that because we had done it all in BIM, it fitted together perfectly when it arrived on site, which is quite complex with a curved building. That's just a very brief overview of what we're doing in London in BIM, and then we can talk about some of the issues around that when we come to the question and answer session. Thank you.